What we'd love to do now is introduce our next speaker, Alice Zaslavsky, who you may recognise from MasterChef, but perhaps more importantly, she was a teacher before she embarked on that journey, and she's unbelievably passionate about food and education, in particular about food literacy. Alice talks about the need for children to be as literate in food as they are in maths, Eddie, and in words and letters. So can we give Alice a big standing ovation, please, and welcome her to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much. For those of you that I've not yet met, my name is Alice Zaslavsky. I've written books. I've hosted TV shows. I've been food editor. I've judged food. I've been a general food badass. But before all of that, I was a teacher. And as every single teacher in this room can contend, the well-being of my students was absolutely paramount. And well-being is a pretty interesting place right now. You know the stats, you know the scary images, and it comes down, it's beyond obesity, it's beyond the way that they look, it's actually a disconnect from food. And I saw it myself empirically when I took my kids on camp. I was teaching Year 8 boys who didn't know how to dice an onion, let alone cook a meal for themselves. And so I started to integrate food into my humanities lessons and into my English lessons. Ancients Day was fantastic for my Year 7s. It was an ancient Greek feast, and the buy-in was that they each had to bring in a dish from home that was Greek feast inspired. Lots of grapes. Then there was medieval day the week later for Year 8s. They each had to bring in a medieval dish. Lots of loaves of bread, believe it or not. But as Deputy Head of Humanities, it was also my role to offer my teachers resources. And I knew that there were 3 key barriers for teachers. Time, making sure that it was really easy for them to find it and really easy for them to slot it into their lessons. Resources or cost, so making sure that there were as few extra bits and bobs that they needed as possible. And finally, expertise. That shrug is like, you never want to be in front of your students and feel like an idiot. You want to feel like you're the master or you're able to facilitate learning from a place of comfort at all times. So, as I was developing all these different resources, I ended up on a little show that some of you might recognise with a little guy who's slightly smaller than right now.
Alice, who the freaker is Alice? I've been waiting to say that for a long time. And you know why I say that? Because everyone knows who you are now. You are the most amazing character, the most generous person. And you know what? Every kid in Australia should be taught by you.
Which was a pretty awesome endorsement. Thank you, George Columbaris. And so I embarked in the last 7 years to start to teach as many students as possible, thinking about removing the barrier. You know, that idea of teacher but bigger never left my mind. And so when the opportunity came up through Hort Innovation, who are a not-for-profit research and development corporation representing the horticulture industry, you can see I've said that quite a few times, through their vegetable fund, they posed a really interesting question to me. How do you make vegetables cool for kids? And I knew as a teacher that the best place to teach kids new ideas was in the classroom, because they're already spongy, they're ready to learn. The reason why you have trouble around a dinner table is because kids love the power struggle with their parents. But when teachers teach them something new, that's exciting and that's an opportunity. So I partnered with a really fantastic curriculum specialist who I'll talk about in a moment, because I'm going to talk about barriers first. I knew I needed to remove them, so I did. I made sure that what I created was curriculum aligned and searchable by topic, so that it was really, really quick for teachers and you could slot it into existing curriculum really easily. I made sure that it was free. Hort paid the dollar bills, y'all. So absolutely everything that I'm talking about right now is yours. Take it, please use it. And finally, it meets every single teacher exactly where they are. So if you're an art teacher, history teacher, an English teacher, a maths teacher, there's something for you in these resources. And even though the first phase is 3 to 6, you can certainly find either sort of, we're teachers, we can adapt. So you can make it younger or you can make it older. And particularly some of these resources, I think, actually suit like a Year 10 level. They're fabulous. The curriculum specialist that I mentioned, Beverly Lang, has 20 years of experience, and particularly her last project was Little J and Big Cuz, which I'm sure some of you are already using, but she also aligned the Stephanie Alexander Kitchen Garden curriculum. So how many of you have kitchen gardens in your schools? Great, fantastic. So your students are already quite amenable. Get this into their lessons. And for those of you that don't, awesome. What a fantastic gateway. You don't need a kitchen, you don't need a garden. All you need is your creativity as a teacher and some spongy kids. And so we created this, Phenomenom, with an M, not by accident. It's because we want to create the phenomenon of changing kids' minds about vegetables by teaching them that they're nom 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 delicious. There's 25 springboard videos. They're all available on YouTube as well as phenomenom.com.au, and we've had over 100,000 views since May because the kids are seeking them out themselves because they're great, and 50 curriculum-aligned resources. But the reason that they're springboard videos is because even though we've made 50 lessons, there's plenty of different jumping-off points for you as creative teachers. We've also been featured as a 100 Spotlight, where we'll be on ClickView, and we're up in the air on Qantas now. So if you're flying anytime soon, seek us out. But it comes back to curriculum, because that's what this is about. It's about curriculum by design. And as we know, even though the Australian curriculum can seem quite limiting, it's actually a fantastic framework from which we can start to find things. So if you'll humour me for a moment, turn this into a pie. Let's take a slice, literacy, and show you what we did with it. So we have to teach persuasive writing, we have to teach informative writing, we have to teach words, so why not integrate some food into it? One of the key barriers for kids with vegetables is exposure. For a new vegetable to be introduced to a child, it needs to be introduced about 14 times, up to 14 times. And especially for parents who give up after 1 or 2 times, and especially for those for whom cost is a huge prohibitive factor, exposure doesn't mean that it has to go in their mouths. It doesn't even need to be on their plates. It can be as easy as seeing it or talking about it in class. So this is a key exposure point. 50 opportunities for exposure points. This is one of the videos.
Now it's time to do the bacon stack with your streaky bacon. I want you to lay each stack on top of each other, nice and even. And then we want you to julienne that whole stack so it looks like a pile of tiny bacon matchsticks. Remember, the trick with the julienne is to make sure all the bacon stacks are even. Now that's done, get a clean mixing bowl and crack 6 eggs into it. Now add your milk and flour and whisk it all up.
So something as dry as process writing or informative writing, teaching to an audience or writing for an audience, can be turned into something really fun, and they happen to learn how to make zucchini slice at the same time. Now, one of the key kind of resource focuses that I'm most proud of is the one around native foods, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledges and ideas. We've got quite a few fantastic resources there with Auntie Dale Tilbrook, who's a Wadandi Bibbulmun senior elder. And Auntie Dale teaches some of the most fantastic stuff. My favourite one, I'm going to go real fast, is this one, kangaroo poo glue.
Remember, most of our cooking is being done in the ashes. And sometimes we would wrap it up in paper bark. You can use that to make a wrapping, so you would make it wet, so the meat would steam inside there, or the vegetables would steam inside there.
Like baking paper.
You know, it would char and smoke in the ashes and give those lovely flavours to the food as well.
That's 60,000 years of technology.
It is. And, you know, when I said we used all of the kangaroo, we used all of the kangaroo, even the poo.
What did that taste like?
Well, we weren't eating that.
Yeah, Billy.
We were making glue with it. Glue? Kangaroo poo glue. I still make glue that way. I go to the grass trees and I get the resin from the grass trees and I grind it all up. And then I'll go to a fire and I'll get the charcoal from the fire and I'll grind it all up. And I'll get some kangaroo poo, not too fresh. It's dry a few days, not too old, just right, and crush it up in my hands. Well, kangaroos only eat grass and leaves. And then I end up with some fibre.
So you can see how this can be a really fantastic way of weaving in some really interesting knowledge, but also some really different ideas about technology. And for a science teacher or a design tech teacher, hey, look at that. You're already looking at a cross-curricular priority of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander ideas, as well as sustainability. So there are plenty of different kind of links that you can find, and they're pretty wild. And I love the nodding. Thank you very much. I'm really proud of that one. So as you can see, all of these subjects are available. Check it out on the website. I'm going to show you. Yes, all of your subjects are available. This is how the website works. Have a visit, have a play, move some vegetables around. Some of them explode. It's pretty great. Phenomenom.com.au. Have a search. You can browse, as well as searching by curriculum code, theme and topic. Or you can head on down and check out the videos straight away. They're just pretty funny. If you've got kids at home, even before you show it to your students in class, test it out on your kids. I've got parents telling me that they're showing their 3-year-olds. We're also featured on the YouTube Kids app. And kids are watching this and they're just inhaling it because it's so different. And because there are kids their own age on the screen and Australian kids on the screen, all of those things really resonate. And obviously the animation makes them think, we're not learning, this is fun. And they're the teacher features, so all downloadable PDFs. And I reckon when I saw the first PDF, I mean, you've got to agree that this is teacher porn. Look at the codes. Look how clean and neat and fresh it is. Absolutely. That is vegetable money, ladies and gentlemen. So what you can do now is find us. Use the resources. Get in touch with me if you do use the resources, because the best thing that's happening now is we're pitching for more projects, which means more resources for you, more opportunities to get our kids loving Brussels sprouts, as they surely should. The key there is burn them. And please do get in touch with me, Alice in Frames. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you again. Have fun at EC.
Thanks so much, Alice. Cheers. Thank you.